So I've worked in this industry for 27 years now. I've worked for the Treasury, doing some interesting stuff after 9/11, Disney, CLS, big foreign exchange, M. Brown, retailer, so we'll get onto that later. Rathbones, wealth management, now back to Forex. Mentor, public speaker, and like I said, ex-hacker and security researcher. Now normally, this slide takes 15 minutes, because I like to go into depth and detail, but I only have 15 minutes today, so we'll just move on. Bizarrely, a lot of my talk echoes exactly what's just been said. I haven't updated this slide, but as you can see, this is October 2021. All these down here, cyber attacks, where there was data breached, these are publicly announced or dug into, right? 94 publicly disclosed cyber breaches. And here is the number of publicly disclosed ransomware. And here, data breaches that are not technical, somebody leaves. Actually, some of them are, some of them aren't, but it could be as simple as somebody copies something to a USB stick, then accidentally leaves it in a parking lot. That is scary. Now, December last year, twice as bad, because there was some log4j thing. You might have seen it. Pretty brutal. I had a great Christmas. We don't use log4j, but for everyone else, I'm terribly sorry. So these cyber attacks, this is just a continual build-up and build-up and build-up. And it's 2022 now, right? See all this? I've seen this since 1995. This ages me slightly. We have not made any real progress. And the weird thing is that we've got all these tools. We've got a room full of people. We're all professionals and practitioners in this. But we're still seeing this level of compromise. Ransomware events, as you can see, as was just stated, it is the top thing. Who remembers when insider threat used to be the top risk? Because that was a thing for at least 5-6 years before ransomware. Now ransomware. So we're having to go back. And by the way, boards still think it's insider risk. They still think it's insider risk. Maybe less now because of the ransomware stuff. But my board, what are we doing about insider risk? What are we doing about ransomware? Oh, by the way, the figures for the year end was 5.1 billion records publicly exposed last year. And most of these companies don't actually release how many records have been stolen or what data has been breached for two reasons. One, they don't want to be shamed. The second one, which is far more scary, they don't know. They literally do not know how many records have been compromised. So, oh yeah, and this isn't, so, how bad is it? Well, as was said, the US have now made it illegal to pay ransomware if you're a financial services organization. It's not across the entire board, or at least it wasn't when this was released. Interestingly, I did this talk, or an iteration of this talk, at the US Embassy in November, and bizarrely they let me back out, which was quite nice of them, I thought. But the point is, we've now got to the point whereby we're putting in legislation to try and deal with a technical problem. Now, if you get hit by ransomware, and it's your business, and you go to pay it, and it's like, oh, we'll get fined, or we can't do it because it could be seen as the proceeds of crime, you will find somebody who is shady and acts as a broker, a go-between, to then pay your rent. You'll pay them for, I don't know, consultancy. They will then pay the ransomware actor. You will then get your keys, hopefully, and your data will still have been leaked. But the point is, there are ways around it. We cannot legislate our way out of this. Moving swiftly on. All right, so current state of cyber. The industry is growing 7%. There's a load of vendors upstairs. It's going to be, what, 345 billion as a sector by 2026. Definitely the right place to be, right? If you want to make some money, come up with some products. There's so many vendors out there, as you can see upstairs, but how do you navigate, right? I spend a ridiculous amount of time, probably an unhealthy amount of time, keeping up to date with what's going on in the world and what's going on with the vendor space. And I also am on LinkedIn, so I constantly get people asking me if they can sell me stuff. If you are in the know, you'll probably reach out to the vendor that you want to reach out to. But it's very, very difficult to stay up to date. And sometimes it helps coming to events like these, which is nice, by the way. And thank you all for not wearing your dressing gowns, because that was a concern I had. We're still bleeding data. I mean, I do get it. I've worked in retail. But we are still bleeding data. And there's even simple things like SQL injection is still a problem. The OWASP top 10, I think, has changed slightly in the last 10 years, but SQL injection is still one of the top issues. which is still mental and confuses me. We now have like web application firewalls, which should take care of all your low and slow, your basic, cheeky amateur hackers trying to break in. Nation state, maybe not so much. But the point is, there is technology out there, but we're still not implementing it. That should be the recruitment, not requirement. I'm dyslexic, I apologize. The recruitment market is totally broken. 5 years for a junior. And then, what was it? There was a massive, something kicked off 2 days ago about a job posting for a security manager in Yorkshire, where they were looking to pay 35K. I mean, I'd apply. Sounds great. Who the hell is going to apply for that role? Who came up with that? I'd love to see the job spec for it. But you can't, 5 years is insane. Oh, by the way, I have 0 qualifications. I barely finished school, and I definitely didn't go to university. And I hire people who have the passion. Like, I don't have a CISP or a CISM, and I definitely don't want one. But it works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. But you can't be mandating a junior with 5 years plus experience. There's a skill shortage because we're being insane. Also, who is writing these job specs? Because it's not me. So you got up the HR chain and, oh, well, every other job requires, what, a year, a degree? 5 years? Also, the only way you can really learn is on the job in cyber, from what I've seen. You can't actually sit in a classroom and be like, yeah, let's simulate that. Although board simulations work, but it's not the same. And I am biased, obviously, because I'm self-taught. So before I slam qualifications and all that stuff, I'm sure they're great. Often reality never lines up, right? When you join a new company. It's always like, oh no, we've got all this stuff in place. This is how we're moving forward. This is our latest transformation project. Here's our databases. We're just killing it. You get in, and I've had this happen, walk in and like, here's our data center. It's like, is that a fucking mainframe? So yeah, it's a AS400, and we store our customer databases. It is called Supra, that was last maintained in 1976. That was almost a day to walk out, but I thought, yeah, I like a challenge. No matter what vendors say, there is definitely no silver bullet. And I don't think, we've got better at this now. A lot of vendors are like, we can help you with this thing and this thing and this thing, but you probably need to have, defense in depth. We all know it now. But I still get some vendors who are like, hi, I'm sales guy from marketing. I'd like to tell you how we will solve all your problems. Cool. Give me £1 million. Thank you. Oh, right. Oh, this is cyber stuff. All right, cool. Yeah, defense in depth is still key. I'm just checking time because I am wittering now. Okay, got a couple of seconds. Defense in depth is still key. Fine. Patching. Jesus, can we all agree? Patching is actually bloody hard. Everyone seems to think it's like, do the basics, patch. All right, go and patch an AS400 mainframe with a database that was last maintained in 1976. Getting people to patch and getting business units to patch is really, really hard. And I don't care what anyone says. It's like, even if you have a critical vulnerability, do you think you can go into, well, any money-making system that doesn't have HA, because let's be honest, that still exists, and go, by the way, we're going to patch the server right now, it needs to be done. Nobody's going to give you sign off for that. So for everyone who's like required or does patching, I'm sorry, and it's really hard, and nobody tell you anything different from that. Quickly on this one, we're talking about threat actors and hackers, right? This is Bob's story. So Bob was seeing this girl. She was from Poland or something. She was a model. And she had loads of photos on the internet that she didn't want there anymore. Fair enough. She was getting older, didn't want this stuff. She asked Bob to remove these photos from the internet. So Bob did the removal from Google search, the places where you could take down stuff. That was fine. There was this one Polish website, I remember Bob telling me, that didn't have the ability to remove your pictures. So I was like, well, let's see what I can do. Bob sat down, first had a scan, had a look, had a prod, did a few bits and pieces, nothing. Next month, had another look, nothing. 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. 6 months, they release an update. Bob has a look, sticks in a backtick, bang, SQL error. Bob then spent, 3, 4 days without sleeping in his basement, drinking coffee, handcrafting a SQL injection that now led him to access a password file, at which point he got admin and then was able to delete those photos. The point of this is, as an attacker, if you're motivated enough, you will spend 6 months. There's still a phone system, a voice box thing that I've been punching in random passwords for 10 years just to get access. Because this is what it is. It's not just about the guys in the basement or the guys who are corporations. Yes, those are the guys making money and doing it well. But you've also got to remember there's other people out there who are just so dedicated to breaking into something for a laugh, for the winning the game of chess is the way that I like to put it, that they will spend 6 months doing this. And it was a fantastic sort of view of dedication. Finally, right, because I think I'm running out of time. Yes, finally, I'll use this slide in every single organization I've been to in the last 10 years. Because more often than not, 10, I'd say 5. More often than not, I walk in, and on day 0, I'm like, cool, show me your stuff. And I come away with a view of that is North Korea at night, whereby they turn off the power to the rest of the country, but Pyongyang is lit up. That's usually their security visibility or their posture. They think they're doing really well because there's this one center or one tool that they're like, look how bright this is. We can see everything. And you have 90% of the company is dark. This is in retail, wealth management, not so much financial sectors because they're regulated and they have these things. But outside of regulated businesses, that's usually the slide I go into the board with and go, ta-da! And then I have to explain. But anyway, after 1 year, I usually push forward for a dawn type thing. We can see stuff, but we can't see it clearly. And then obviously with the end of my 3-year tenure, because I was shift about 3 years, Vegas at night, which leads into thanks for sending me to Black Hat in Vegas, because that's what we want to be. But that is generally the journey that I've been taking for the last 5 years. It's 2022, right? Strange. And then finally, in summary, because I don't have a lot of time, I'll skip through these very quickly. Basically, don't gatekeep, keep learning, bring people into the business and into your cyber teams that have passion. Definitely don't ask for 5 years worth of experience. Take the people who have that passion. Remember, there are people like me where this is my life. I am obviously a hacker. I dress the part, I have the rings, I have the stupid hair and the hat, right? That's never going to change. For some people, this is just a job. You are trying to defend against people like me, old me, and you're hiring people who this is just a job. So you have to get the right people. Don't look at the qualifications. Don't look for the person who's like, cyber's going to be a great career because in 10 years, I'm going to make X. That's not the person you want. You want the guy who's going to wake up, don't stay awake for 3 days trying to figure out the latest thing. I've spent days in data centers trying to configure firewalls. Days. I haven't seen the sun, as you can tell by my complexion. Mentoring is everyone's job. And also, you don't need to be a rock star to make a difference. Every single person who spots something has that drive to dig into it and find out where that came from, to find the IOCs, to share, to come to conferences like this. Those are the people you want on your team. And I think I'm 2 minutes over, so thank you very much.